am here with Mike today, who is our viticulturist here on Verwood Estate, and you're going to be teaching me a bit about the vines, the grapes, and all of your knowledge.
I hope
if
so,
you can please share with me.
Yeah.
So first of all, what is a viticulturist?
A viticulturist is basically a grape grower, a fancy name for somebody who grows the grapes. So I'm responsible for the grapes itself, so from pruning till harvest,
Okay.
and then the winemaker will take it over after that.
Okay.
That's basically in a nutshell what we do.
It is a fancy name.
It,
I like
it is a fancy name. Look, I mean, I can start saying, you know, you went to uni and you study for it and you get a degree for it, those kind of things to get your viticultural degree and name. So there is a bit to it, but in a sense we're farming, and we're farming grapes. Other farmers might grow potatoes or other fruits or whatever. But there is a bit to it, you know, like it's not just, all right, we'll just tell people what to do and when to prune, but we have to think about balance and soils and different systems and different grapes and what they like, what they don't like, and how they would grow and how not grow, and what we can do to protect and go against certain diseases, and what to do when certain diseases and things creep up, and deficiencies and so forth and so forth. Yeah.
So you have to be kind of on the ball. It's a bit of an evolving job, and it changes.
It is, and it changes every year, which makes it fun too, because no year is the same.
Yeah.
You do generally have the same kind of climate in a certain area, so you work with the same parameters, or the same within the same things. But we've seen over the last 10 years that things would change climate-wise as well. So the last 2 years have been incredibly dry. The years before have been incredibly wet. And I think the fun thing is to make sure that when things like that happen, that you're on the ball, that you know what to do when certain things arise, and hopefully you protect it yourself well enough that when things do change, that you can overcome those things. So exactly, and I think that is what a viticulturist should do, and tell, if it's on a consulting basis, to tell the owners of vineyards what to do, when to do, and to be diligent with those kind of things. And there's other vineyards that I work on the vineyard myself, and it's implement those things that I tell other people to do at those
And how long have you been doing it for?
Roughly about 20 years now.
20 years, okay. So you know your stuff?
Well, some say I do, yeah. Look, I think by now I know what to do. It becomes a little bit second nature, which sometimes is a bit scary, because you become a bit complacent, or you can become complacent. But what I like, and especially what I just said, with changing climates and changing things here and there, you just have to be always involving and on your toes, and sort of, you know when you become complacent and things slip and slide here and there, and you tell your clients and owners to be on the forefoot as well. I think with grapes it's very important, because as soon as you're behind the 8 ball, you're behind, and it's very hard to catch up. So we try to be ahead of that. And in years, especially like for instance this season, when it's warm and there is not really a lot of disease pressure, I've learned over all these years that on the moment you start slipping and thinking, oh, I don't need to do this, I need to do that, because the weather is good anyway, it will catch up all of a sudden the year after or whatever, because you haven't put in enough protection, or you have let something slide that you should have done. And it will bite you in the arse in the end. So.
Okay. And how did you get into it? Has it always been a passion? Or?
No, by chance. I was a landscaper / gardener around here, and through a mutual friend who looked after vines, all of a sudden he needed a pair of hands, and he said, Mike, would you like to help me out in the vineyard and this and that? And I'm like, oh yeah, sounds interesting, why not? And got hooked sort of within straight away. Did it a couple of months, and I think I did it a year helping him out, and the following year I went to uni to study more and did my viticulture degree on distance, and while all the kits and everything were born. So it's been a passion for me ever since, as soon as I started.
As soon as you started, oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, no, it's good. So enjoy what I'm doing and love my job.
Important, so important.
Exactly.
If you don't love it, then it's not really not as worth it.
That's for sure.
Perfect. And what kind of duties are included in being a viticulturist?
I think it's, for me, on a consultancy basis towards, for instance, Verwood Estate, it's coming once a week or once 2 weeks to check out the vineyard, to see which growth stage we're at, what we need to do. It's coming up with a spray program, so there are certain sprays involved during the year to protect for certain diseases and certain things that can go wrong. So it's every year revising that. It's doing soil tests, making sure that vines are balanced in the sense that there is enough food for them in the soil, and that there is enough growth on top if there's too much or not enough, and basically telling the owners what they should be doing over the next sort of fortnight to month. So again, try to be ahead of schedule and not like, oh, you should have done this. No, there's another spray coming. Natalie is quite good at constantly asking, like, what do we need to do? Where
so
are we? But not all owners are like that. They really depend on you, and when you say certain things. I think that is
students, Natalie. And
well, look, they like to be involved, which helps.
Amazing.
And I think it's this vineyard was quite annihilated when I came here. There was nothing left.
They had some troubles, didn't they?
They had some severe trouble. So they asked me if we could get any life out of them again, or which, to be honest, we all had our question marks because it was there was just nothing here anymore. It was all looking like that. No good shoots. It was all dead, and so basically it was either ripping everything out and start all over again, or with some severe measures. And we've done that. They said, yes, Mike, that's what we want to do. And for me, it was quite clear cut then. It said, all right, well, we're going to do that. But the only way of doing it is if you listen to me and do the things that we tell you to do. Otherwise, I'm not responsible. I'm not going to say, oh, I told you so. No, that's from the go-get, we have to all do this. And they said yes, and they have been doing that. And they're great people that way.
Yeah, they're very passionate.
Very passionate. They're working hard. Scott thinks he works too hard. But it's good. And I think that's what you need on a property like this when you do it yourself. So
you need that drive and that
passion.
You
need that drive. And then they've been happy with me telling them what to do.
I think you're doing a wonderful job, because I've tasted the wine and it's delicious.
Good, thank you very much.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you there. And is it a one-man job? Do you have other people help you out?
No, the consultancy is a one-man job.
Okay.
There is more involved, so certain times during the season, certain things need to be done which you cannot do on your own, or the owners or Scott or whoever is looking after the property. And then we have the help of a team of people that come and prune all in one go, or leaf block all in one go, or de-shoot. There's just certain things that can't drag on over weeks and weeks if you want to do it on your own. They just need to be done there and then, basically. So we got a team that can help us out. But I work on my own, and I know other viticulturists around looking after bigger properties or more properties, and they will have one or two offsiders that sort of can help out if needed. But it depends on the property. Yeah. So like we said, Nat and Scott are pretty hands-on. So
it's quite easy for you.
So it's quite easy. So it's for them. It's basically just telling what to do, and then Scott will do majority of the work, but Nat will jump on the tractor and spray and cut grass or whatever. So, and then they, as now, they most of the time have somebody to help them out, and altogether we'll.
Very much a family business.
Well,
It's at their heart, I think.
Exactly, and you do have to. It is certain times it's hard work.
Yeah.
It can be bloody hot, and
I haven't experienced that yet because it's quite chilly.
It is quite chilly. This area is known for exactly the cold winters. More like home for you guys.
It is. Climatising slowly.
That's it. So it's probably a little bit more European in the fact that here in the Southern Highlands we really have 4 seasons.
You get your seasons,
which is nice in a sense, but and it's good for the grapes. So they need their off time. So again, if it's too hot, the season will just last too long, or we have to look for different varieties. Let's put it that way. So we have typical cool climate varieties here. And they like their dormancy period and the cold time for the soil temperatures to go down and for them to recharge for bud burst in a couple of months' time again.
Okay. So, can you tell me a bit about the grapes at the moment? What kind of stage?
Well, we're in dormancy, so it's winter time. They lost their leaves, so vines are like trees, deciduous trees basically. So they lose their leaves during winter time, and then we prune late winter so that we are ready for early spring. And an early spring here, sort of the end of September, beginning of October, you will have the first signs of bud burst. So your first sign of your buds, actually green tips coming out, and basically the whole process starts over again until we pick sort of March, April the following year, and that's sort of our season. So our season starts in late July, August with pruning, and then it goes through to picking, and the last varieties we pick maybe May, and then you've got a couple of months to make sure that everything is tidy and looking good again before the new season starts again. And
it keeps going.
Going.
Like work does. Yeah, it sounds like a very big job, but quite a fun one as well with the ever-changing.
Yeah, look, I don't know if it's big. It's just, I think it's different if you don't know. It's like any job, you know, like some jobs when you don't know too much about it, they all look big, I guess, always. They're that much involved, and there is a bit involved, but once you got a pattern going, it's sort of the same thing constantly. So again, like we start with pruning. So what you see here is all this season's growth, and basically what we want to do is get rid of all this season's growth and have a new arm. So we will cut everything off.
So you cut it all the way down to
all
here?
the way down to one cane, and so I cut it off here, and I will lay this cane down as this one has been laid down, and out of all of these buds, new shoots will grow. So all these shoots were buds last year at this time like that. So we cut all that off, we lay a new arm down. There is different ways of doing. Some people will just cut it back to 2 buds, so on what they call spur pruning. So they cut here, and they leave 2 buds on each, and that will have 2 new shoots growing in the following season. Or you just cut the whole thing away and just lay a new arm, and that way I know exactly how many buds I will lay down. That means also that I know how many shoots there will be. Then I also know that every shoot has 2 bunches of grapes, so I already know with pruning how much that particular vine should yield.
Okay, so you do your calculations.
You already, So if you know, so for instance, these ones, again, we've had a very hot season. It's been very out of character for here, so some vines struggled a little bit, and this is a typical example for a vine that struggled a little bit. These shoots should not be this. They all should be at least this length. So we know that this vine has struggled a little bit, so it would have accumulate less carbohydrates or storage or energy for next year. So I will not have that many buds on this one for coming season, just to make sure that it has time to use its energy instead of in grapes, but in its own growth and strength. And hopefully by that become stronger next year, and then if it's healthy again, we'll lay down more.
Yeah.
So that's how you sort of see every vine individual.
Yeah.
But then it helps when you work with a good team that know what they're doing, and they know, all right, when they see something like that, all right, the viticulturist or the owner doesn't want me now to, and that's also my responsibility to tell
Teach them.
and to say, all right, guys, when you see vines like this, we either just spur prune or we just lay 5 buds instead of 10.
What kind of difficulties do you face? Any difficulties on this vineyard?
Oh, there's multiple on this vineyard. The list is endless. Again, we are still very much in a rebuilding phase here, so these vines have not had any nourishment over so many years, so it's just been taking and taking and taking, but nothing has gone back. So this vineyard been malnourished, looked after completely the wrong way, so these vines ended up being pretty much dead 2 years ago. So we're only really in our 3rd season now that they're looking like this, and they look like producing again. So this season past was our 2nd vintage, would have been our 2nd vintage, and next one will be only our 3rd. So this year it was looking really good. We do feel that some varieties have struggled a little bit more also because of the drought. So we sort of have to go back to basics and do a couple of soil tests and see if there's any shortage of nutrients within the soil that they need to take up, and add things or take things away for this coming season. To keep that balance in the vine. But it will take a couple of years. It will take at least 4 or 5 seasons to get some decent balance within these vines again, after they've been malnourished and mal looked after for so long.
Yeah.
So and that is the biggest issue here. Second issue is that the trellis system, so the posts and the wires are a mess. So some rows we can't get through, some rows are tipping over. Again, when you have bad weather, lots of wind, it just puts too much pressure on vines, and multiple issues.
Do you have any issues with animals or anything? Because I've seen a few emus, and there's obviously kangaroos and wombats.
The emus scare me.
I was chased by one the other day.
Yes, so I don't like to be around them too much, because they do chase, and they love grapes too. So, and they get a bit funny at certain times in the year, and they will chase you. But no, they're not really doing anything wrong. But we've got kangaroo and deer problems around here. So the guys at the moment are doing fencing work to make sure that we can keep them out. So we've had big problems on parts of the vineyard, especially the parts adjacent to the trees where deer will come through, and they basically just... It will look like this too. They will just eat the whole thing there. They eat all the leaves, and if there's no leaves, there's no growth. So
that's a hard job keeping them out.
Well, exactly. And around here, that's a big thing. From here, all the way into Canyon, but on the other side of the Highlands as well. Like there's a lot of bush around. Yeah. And there's multiple vineyards that I look after, scattered around, and especially the ones adjacent to bush have a lot of deer and roo.
For the deer there,
and so they all have to erect fencing and doing things to keep them out. So that's another problem, it's not only the rain and the sunshine, it's the animals and
so many different factors that you have to think about. I think we have the boys actually working on the fences at the moment.
Harvest is a fun time of the year, because your hard work it should be fun. This year it wasn't, because we knew that we couldn't pick it because of the smoke. So we've had all the bushfires here in Australia, and the whole of the Southern Highlands have been smoke affected. So I don't know of any vineyard around that has picked grapes to make wine. A lot of grapes have been picked to make distillates of it, so gins and brandies and those kind of things. But so it's very hard when that happens. But normally it's a very exciting time when you get towards harvest, and a very stressful time, because you want everything. The grapes, the further in the season, they become more and more delicate.
So time is of the essence.
Yes, and it goes very much in the end one day to the next day.
Okay.
You don't always have that luxury of being able to, because you don't have, for instance, these guys don't have their own winemaking facility, so we can't say, oh, they're optimum right now, we pick tomorrow. It has to be lined up with the winemaker somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then we have to get things, logistics into place, like how do they get there, and we need, we need to. So a lot of things come to play at that stage of the game, but rain and cold weather or warm weather, all these kind of factors can have major influences towards the end, and you don't want to have anything go wrong, especially when they're looking good. And you think, oh, they only need 2 more weeks, and then it starts raining, and and then you're back to square one, and you have to wait longer and worry about diseases and things like that.
So it plays with your emotions a bit, I can imagine.
It's like doing a big exam. I always say, like you don't feel the pressures of an exam until you've done it, and you sort of have that release afterwards, and you feel it everywhere, and you're tired. And that's the same with this. You build yourself up to a certain point, and I always feel like I've done a big exam. As soon as the grapes are off, I'm like, okay,
you can just let go, it's all done. Relax now, have a glass of wine or something.
Exactly.